Hello, welcome back to another segment in a spiritual ascension, my own 5-year ascension journey. So again, if you're just kind of coming to this video, please go back to the intro video and start from there because I'm kind of going in chronological order as far as year to year. That right now I'm currently doing like what led up to my 5-year journey. Okay. So when I left off on the last video, I was talking about the start of 2019 and that I had gone to see my son who's in the Marines in Japan. And then the opportunity had come for me to be able to leave my job, as my father had told me 2 years before that I would be leaving my job. And I had no idea how that was going to happen, but miracles happen, miracles from heaven. And um, I was able to accept a package. I had the opportunity to stay if I wanted to, or I could leave and take the package. In my thinking, I was desperately wanting to do my yoga certification and open a yoga studio in my town. And um, I figured, what a great opportunity. Now I can do this. So as soon as I knew, I had about a month, maybe a little less, 3 to 4 weeks from the time I definitely signed the papers that I was going to leave as of April 30th. Um, and I think I looked up, who was going to be doing yoga certifications in New York City around that time. I found a school um, and I signed up for I think it was 3 weeks, 3 week class where you're kind of there all day from, I think it was 8 to 5 or 8 to 7. It was 8 to 7 because you had to do like 200 hours within 3 weeks. Um, so I signed up for that even before I had left um, my job. Also, there was an opportunity in my town where they were having, the township was giving these entrepreneur classes. So I think it was a 3 month class, and you went like every Wednesday for like 3 hours, something like that. And it was a very small fee. And so I ended up signing up for that and attending those classes. I think it was every Wednesday, like 6 to 9. And I think that was April to June, something like that. And while I was there, I met a lot of great women. It was focused on women who wanted to become entrepreneurs and had already kind of either started their business or wanted to start a business. And that was a great way of me meeting other women, not only in my town, but other women who were, um, starting um, their businesses because now this is something I was going to do. And I think I ended work. Yeah, ended work April 30th. I was renting space in, I don't know if you know, like those office kind of places where you could like rent a desk or rent an office and, you don't pay a lot because everybody is kind of like a pool thing where you're all kind of sharing the expenses. So I had signed up for that. And in that way, whenever I did a reading, I would have people meet me there to do readings or to do healing sessions. And that work was working out really well. And I was kind of building up a clientele. Um, my yoga certification classes, I think, started at the end of July, and it was supposed to run into mid-August. So I finished up the entrepreneur classes, and I forgot to put this on again, my timer. I like to try to keep the videos around, 15 minutes just so I don't bore you guys too much and also get you guys to keep coming back because I'll continue to rant on and on. So I should be watching my time. Um, Let me just look at my clock here. Um, okay, that was June. They had a little graduation thing for us for the entrepreneur class. And I had said to some of the women, why don't we, since I have this place, where we can meet, where they had like a boardroom and everything, conference room, we're all ending this class. We may not see each other again. Let's all keep in touch. Why don't we kind of start a women's group to continue this? So I had invited all the women to come, and a lot of them showed up, and I kind of led the um, group to say, okay, now we're out of this entrepreneur class. We've all graduated. What are you doing now with your with the work, with your business, and any tidbits you may be able to help us with or whatever. So I started that group, which I was kind of proud of. Um, Later on, I continued with the group, but because things started happening in my life, which we'll get to, I kind of let them take over, some of the other ladies take it over. And I'm not sure if they're still doing or not, but they actually wanted to make it into a LLC, nonprofit, or whatever, and kind of, have other women join and so forth and so on. So I'm really proud of that. Was one of the main things I was really proud of was starting it, but also allowing for other women to continue. So, because I also wanted to concentrate now on doing my yoga and opening up my business. And I didn't want to be like the head of a group where I was spreading myself too thin. So, at the end of July, I believe I started my certification. And that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. Um, but again, another proud moment that I accomplished it. I did my 200 hours in those 3 weeks. We had our graduation at the end, mid-August, I believe. And I was so exhausted after that. Um, I remember during that class, it was very healing also during my certification because the teachers, not only were we learning yoga and learning the teachings, but it also I never felt like I had ever healed from my son's passing. So a lot of the exercises that we did, I was able to kind of release in some ways in meditations and other things. And I remember this one of the guys, one of the teachers, had come up to me one day and he said, there's something different about you. He says, me and some of the other teachers have noticed that there's something like kind of, I don't know what exact words he used, something special, there's something different about you. And I was like, I had heard that from other people before, but I didn't quite understand what that meant, you know? Um, I even remember my best friend at the time, the guy she was dating, had said something like that to her. And of course, I don't think she liked it too much, that he was observing me that much. But um, he had said that also. And um, I do get that from people. And I think that's kind of in some way, why people will kind of kick me out and be triggered. And I do think that's a part of the light. And I believe that probably you guys have also experienced things like that, that people are triggered either for good or for bad. I'm going to say bad, but in a wrong way by your light. Okay. Anyway, after I finished my certification, I took a trip to Atlantic City just to like get away for a couple of days because I was just exhausted. It's very taxing, not only on your body. Because I would, when you do yoga, you kind of do it at your own pace, and you know all the steps and the poses and everything. But now that when you're doing your actual certification, like you've got to be on point. You've got to show your best, because they're observing you throughout, and having the right poses. And it was very taxing. So I had gone away for a couple of days, the end of August. When I came back, I started attending a lot of like networking um, events, or was meeting other entrepreneurs, other people. I had met this guy who kind of had, he was focused on like children's activities, like after school children's activities, and he was going to rent a building in order for kids to come after school and have, different activities for them to do. So I had told him that I teach yoga. He was like, "Are you interested in, maybe teaching the kids?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's you know, like so perfect." And then thinking, also saying to him, "Well, if you have this space, like I'm also looking for a space in order to open up my studio. Like first to have a space just to get clientele to come in before I actually invest in a separate property." You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get it started first. So I put a lot of the money that I had got for my departure from my company, I was using not only to live off of, but also to start investing in different projects and equipment and things like that. And I figured that the money that I was going to be making going forward would help me to continue my lifestyle. So I'm saying, okay, must be what my father had intended me to do, was to do my work of doing readings and to do Reiki healing, and now to open up the studio. So that continued on um, for the rest of 2019, kind of focused on that way. But my clientele wasn't picking up the way I had thought. And also the gentleman kind of getting in touch with him, when was he going to open up this building? And by the end of the year, it still wasn't open. And so I'm trying to say now, okay, do I go about venturing out on my own to purchase, or not purchase, but to rent a space, or like, what should I do? So I'm going to leave it there. I think that brings us up to the end of 2019, and continue on with the rest of the story in my next video. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to talk to me about your own journey, or have questions about my journey, there's a link below for you to book time with me. Also, I've done several courses on the Ascension journey, and that link is also below. Okay, I'll see you next time.